Hey, I'm Steve Speck with Exo Mtn Gear. Justin behind the camera and I are getting ready to take off for a 7-day moose hunt. I drew my once-in-a-lifetime moose tag here in Idaho, and we're taking off. It's October 1st. Heading out for 7-8 days loosely, and just going to walk you through all the gear that I'm packing on the hunt. Try to go into depth on some of my thoughts, why I'm taking this and that. So overall, 7-day backpacking trip, 7-night backpacking trip. We've got a pretty aggressive, like 24-mile through hike that we're going to do, where we're going to drop off motorcycles on one end, drive our truck around to the other, and hike over these 7 days, just over these 24 miles. So not a lot when you divide that out per day, but some days we'll be, moving 2 miles. The next day we'll move 8 miles, just moving from glassing point to glassing point. Really, the goal is to get up high, spot moose down low. I'm going to be taking a rifle on this hunt, so it'll be a rifle hunt. So we're not like going to be getting down into the thick stuff and calling, try to spot the moose from above. Temperatures right now, we're going to be high around 50, low around 30. It's calling for rain, snow mix every single day. So that's definitely something that kind of developed over the last week. We're always checking the weather, as the hunt's getting close, and obviously that's going to dictate what we're going to do. On a hunt where it's marginal, I've got my InReach and I pull the weather at the trailhead. So I've got rain gear, maybe some extra warm stuff in a tote in my truck, and we're going to pull the weather. And if it's like all of a sudden gets worse or the forecast gets better, then I'll adjust what I'm packing from there. And the goal is obviously always to make the pack as light as possible so that we can cover country efficiently and hunt, as effectively as we can. So starting out, I'm going to go kind of right to left. So this is K4x pack. So this is fully in development, really rough prototype. We're just hammering out details, playing with different foams and fabrics and things like that. Color, like you kind of gotta, we almost didn't want to put the pack in the video because so much could change before when it comes out in 2026. But this is the pack right now. Pretty incredible for what it does. Performance-wise, is good or better than K4 and its weight hauling, carrying capabilities, durability, and waterproofness is through the roof. It's going to be substantially more waterproofness is the wrong word. Water resistant is through the roof. It's going to be substantially more water resistant, and it's doing all of that. So it's checking every single box and doing that at, right now, this is 3 pounds, 14 ounces. So pretty incredible the amount of weight savings we've been able to put into the pack and been able to gain in a lot of areas of durability and things like that. So that's the pack. The bag size is roughly 4,000 cubic inches. And yeah, I should have plenty of space in the bag for all my gear on this hunt. Sleeping pad. This is new. This giant 2-pound thing is the Therm-a-Rest NeoLoft. I bought one on elk hunt Mark and I went on a few weeks ago, because after a deer hunt, I just slept like crap every night, and I was sick of sleeping like crap. And I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to pack an extra pound or more. I bought this and just slept like a dream. So I'm definitely going to pack it on this hunt and just see how long I can. It kills me as an ultra lightweight guy that wants to save every ounce possible to pack. It's a full extra pound more than my old pad, actually a little bit more than that. I think 18 ounces. But it's hard to, how do you put a value on really quality sleep and waking up refreshed and ready to go? So trying it out, got a Sea to Summit pillow here. This is, my old one finally popped after like 10 years. I just bought this one a few weeks ago. It's a little bit heavier. It's their large version. I think it's like 3.5 ounces in that area. Doing, even with the weather, I'm running my Bivy Tarp combination that I typically like to run. So this is a hyperlight mountain gear. I believe it's called the Splash Bivy. Super light, 6 ounces. If we got a clear night and I can just pitch it and sleep under the stars, I'm absolutely going to do that. This is my tarp shelter. This is actually a custom one. It was a little pet project I did back in 2024 where I wanted to build my own tarp shelter for really to handle like Alaska style winds, something that probably will never see the light of the day. It's just something I wanted to make for myself. It's pretty cool. This weighs in at like 11, 12 ounces right now. And then with that, I've got stakes. This shelter, stakes for me is when I'm looking at shelter choices is kind of a big deal. Like if I have shelter A or shelter B that I'm going to buy, and I like both of them, the amount of stakes required to get into the ground is a decision factor for me in a purchase like that, because sometimes you're on really rocky ground, really hard ground, or worse, even really, really soft ground. And if it's the more stakes it requires that are like key to keeping the structure up is not a good thing. With this shelter here, I think it's 7 stakes that I need. It's more than I wanted, more than I prefer. I'd like something more like 5, but at the same time, it handles wind really, really well. Water filter, so running the Hydrapak Seeker. This is a 3-liter bag with their filter. Really, this has been a great setup. I really like how this twists and pops open like that to get the flow, but to lock it down, it really seals it up tight. So I'm pretty confident if I have to throw this in the bag or throw it in my lid, it doesn't leak. And then with this setup, you always want to run an extra bag. So this is the Katadyn Be Free 1-liter bag. If this bag were to pop, or especially like if I were to get a leak around where the threads are, that's going to be really hard to patch in the field and you wouldn't have a filter. So you always need to pack an extra one. You know, this extra bag it's under an ounce, doesn't weigh much. Going in, I got InReach Messenger Plus. Lost my InReach Mini 2 last year on a hunt, and then decided to grab this one this year. It's been fantastic. It's got a unidirectional antenna, so you want to put it like in your lid, pointing up if you want it to be like getting signal all day long. If it's pointing down or kind of buried down in your pack, it's not going to get as good a signal. But when it is pointing up, it's fantastic. I've been able to message home, check in with my wife and kids, and almost like being in cell phone service, really instantaneous. And you can send photos, which was really cool. I did that on my first deer hunt. I went in solo and was just texting pictures to my kids, like, here's where I'm camping, here's my view, and they really enjoyed that. So it was a lot of fun. Game bags. This is obviously moose hunt, so I've got 9 game bags in here. These are actually ones that we sewed ourselves. I've been kind of making my own game bags for a lot of years. I have no huge preference one way or the other than with an Exo frame and how our loads are designed to go into the frame. You need game bags that are tall and skinny. These are designed for boned out. So we're going to obviously bone out this moose, anticipating it, killing it, 5, maybe 10 miles away from the truck or the motorcycles. Definitely going to be boning it out to save that weight and get the meat back out of there. So game bags that are tall, skinny, and don't stretch. You don't want, as you're putting boned out meat into it, you don't want it to turn into this big old ball. You basically want to form like a tube of sand is a good way to imagine it. And that's nice and kind of tall, skinny, and then flat to the frame. And that's how these ones are shaped. Wipes, just packing, 1 bag of wet wipes. I don't do toilet paper, just pack 1 bag of wet wipes. That seems to do the trick. And then one thing, I left my phone out here. I do got a phone scope case so I can phone scope, but I left my phone out because on here I've got my gear list that I do in Google Sheets. And that is, like, to me, critical to all this. I have what I call my master gear list. It's just kind of any hunt possible that I could go on, just things over the years I have on this list. And then sometimes, like what I did on this one, is I made a copy of it and said Idaho Moose 2025, and basically just went through and took things out, made the list exactly what I needed for the hunt. And then it was really simple. Last night I was at home just packing. I had a big plastic tote because I wasn't putting it in my pack yet for this video, and I literally just like, all right, sleeping bag, put it in the tote, check. Spine scope, check. InReach, check. Knife, check. And just go down the list and make sure everything's checked off. And then that way you're going to get out there. You're not going to forget anything. So having a detailed list is absolutely critical. Don't just kind of try to remember. You're going to forget something. You're going to forget a fork. You're going to forget a headlamp. You're going to forget your battery bank, all sorts of things like that. So have a list, follow the list. Just makes your life really, really easy. You don't have to worry and wonder, oh crap, did I forget something? You just know that you're good to go. I have a couple different stash pockets here. These two together make my kill kit. So in here, I'm going to have these latex gloves. Started using these a few years ago when I'm processing an animal, and there was 2 things I noticed that kind of surprised me. One, I never used them before because I wasn't concerned about bloody hands. Usually use your wipes, run some water in your hands, find a creek, you can wash that off. But what I did like was, one, it was really cold and windy the day I used them, and it kept my hands quite a bit warmer than if they were exposed to the air. And then also the grip on a knife. So it allows me to run a knife where it doesn't have more of a substantial handle, so I can save some weight with the knife. Sounds silly, but it's really nice. You just get a much better grip on that knife when you're cutting up the animal. I'm running, I got some cordage here, anticipating, obviously it's going to kill, once we kill this moose, we're going to have 400-ish pounds between potentially cape, meat, and antlers to pack out. I'm going to need to be able to hang that up in the tree. So I've got quite a bit of cordage here, as well as Wiser precision pulleys to be able to get that meat high up on a tree. We're definitely kind of right on the edge of some grizzly country, and just being kind of aware of that, just get the meat up high. We're definitely getting it pretty far away from the carcass just for that very reason. So other things in here, I've got knife. I'm running this is a Hogue, I believe it's called X-Pel. It's going to be like, use your surgical stainless steel blades there. I've packed a few extra of those, anticipating potentially caping out this moose if I shoot a real nice one. Got a knife sharpener here. This is made by DMT. Just kind of opens like almost like a butterfly knife, and then you can take your knife and sharpen it out there in the field. With the moose, you know, one thing with a knife too, especially, so we've got a moose, we've got a lot of cutting we got to do to process this thing out there in the field. You know, probably every quarter I take off. I'm going to take off the front shoulder, I'll stop, clean the knife, just touch it up real quick. It takes 10 seconds to do, versus get like 3/4 of the way through the animal, realize my knife is kind of dull, and then have to go spend a lot more time to get it touched up and sharp again. So just a little bit of maintenance while you're cutting up makes a huge difference. And then I got my tags here. So obviously hunting license and my moose tag, as well as I've got a wolf and a black bear tag in here in case stumble on one of those while we're out hunting. The main knife this is pretty new to me. When I ordered this Hogue Expel, I ordered their other knife. It's MagnaCut steel, nice and lightweight. I like, just as me being my weight weenie self, I like how lightweight it is. It's got a really lightweight sheath on here. Sometimes a knife company will give you the weight of the knife, but then whatever their sheath is could weigh 2-3 ounces. They're really big and bulky and heavy. This thing is grams. Really like it. So tried that out on, I killed an elk last week on a solo hunt. Worked really well. Touched it back up and ready to go for this moose hunt. So this is my like main stash pocket, and in here is just an assortment of all the small things. So first thing that's going to come out, my fork, battery bank. So I got a 10,000 milliamp battery bank. We're going to try on this hunt. I'm going to monitor my phone as far as like take a screenshot of battery on day one, not charge it, see how long the battery lasts on this is like a year-old iPhone. Just to have some more data. It's not something I've never actually done. I just kind of have a good idea that I know I can go hunt a week with a 10,000 milliamp bank and my phone and not have any issues, as well as be able to charge some other devices if needed. Again, just getting really random. These are Wisp toothbrushes. I've got some basically monkey butt cream. This is called chamois butter. If you ever get chafing down there, it's just kind of a backup in case it's hot and we're doing a pack out. I do have extra Allens that belong to this Wiser Precision. I believe it's called the Sparrow binocular tripod mount. Just new to me, and I did the Allens required. I wanted to make sure that those didn't loosen up on me. I got bandages here, Leuco tape and KT tape. KT tape's for my knees if I have any knee issues, or tight IT bands. This seems to help. So these are just like pre-cut KT tape strips. And then I've got Leuco tape, a bunch of that, and this is same deal. I think Mark, I learned this from Mark, started doing it. You take Leuco tape and put it on, this is like shipping label paper, and that way you've got like pre-cut strips ready to go. And I seem to, this is I think prior to the death hike this year that I did this set, and have only used 2 strips so far that I needed. But that's nice, instead of having the roll, kind of makes it easier to use. I've got a little tiny sewing kit, just in case I need to fix something, if we have a tent tear or fabric or anything like that. Voltaren, this stuff is incredible. It's essentially a topical Advil. So if you get something that, like my knees sometimes can flare up and be really, really painful, you rub this on there, it works really, really, really well. It gives you, 4 to 6 hours where pain goes from, say, 100% down to 20, 30%. It's really good stuff. You don't want to overuse it just like any medication, but in an emergency situation, they're great. Lighter. Some general like fire starter, so I've got waterproof matches. Some of the stuff's like 10 years old. I've got some cotton ball fire starters where I soak cotton ball in Vaseline, more Leuco tape. Sometimes I get heartburn out there, so I've got some Pepsid, ends up turning into a powder. Just take this whole thing out. So Imodium, in case you get stomach ache, quick clot, and some Benadryl in case you run into like a bunch of bees or wasps while you're out there in the field. And that's everything in that pocket. Put it all back in. It's pretty much like this whole pocket is just full of like incidentals, like stuff that could happen. There's a few things like my fork and the wisps that I'll be using frequently, but that's about it. Everything else is just kind of the what if case scenarios, right? Okay, moving on. And my battery bank does have, this is a new one from Nightcore. It has a built-in USB-C cable, which is pretty handy. It's one less thing you got to pack, and remember, it's just there all the time. And then all of my electronics recharge now off of USB-C. Headlamp, this is new. BioLite sent this to Mark and I. It's like, hey, we're coming out with this headlamp later this year. Wonder if you guys would test it out. Super light, couple ounces. In the past, I've ran a Phoenix, I think HM50R, and that's been a great headlamp. One of my complaints with it was hiking in the dark. It was like kind of a pretty narrow beam, where this one you turn on and it really lights things up like really well in front of you. So it's kind of like you can see in your peripheral and things like that versus kind of having the spotlight and dark spots. Sounds like a small little thing, it's just something that I like. It doesn't quite have the spotlight feature that the Phoenix did, but I compared the two when Mark and I were on our elk hunt actually and was like, it's still pretty dang close. So giving it a shot. It has a built-in USB-C charger and a built-in battery. And the downside to that is if it gets low and it's dark, you basically got to stop and recharge the thing. You can't swap out a battery. One thing BioLite did with this is I guess it has like a quick recharge feature. So I think 8 minutes of charging, it gets you an extra 2 hours of light or something like that. So it's kind of like, I'll take a chance with it and see. Some hunts, you hardly ever use your headlamp. Some hunts are just like entirely, there's lots and lots of hours hiking in the dark, cutting up animals in the dark, things like that. So a headlamp, sometimes you could go years without ever really needing a good one, and then the one time you need a good one, you're like, oh crap, my headlamp kind of sucks. The battery dies quick, or some of them start out really bright but fade really fast. So this is a little bit of a risk to take, but I feel fine with it. Trekking poles. These are the original S&S trekking poles that we no longer make. I still have quite a few pairs that I love. They're super light, super strong. And then moving on to I got Jetboil here. This is original Jetboil Sol Titanium. We're going to do a video here in a second where I transfer fuel into a fuel canister, show you how the flip fuel works, but just, regular Jetboil here. Okay, over here is pretty much optics, glassing setup. So I do have a little foam pad. This is from a company called, I think, Red Camp. Bought it on Amazon. This one's getting pretty haggard. I probably need the time to replace it. The padding's getting pretty worn out and thin, but I like how it can fold up in a lot of different combinations to be able to kind of fit into the pack. Depending on like the hunt I'm doing, I can put it in a lower pocket. I can lay it flat, put it in the front stretch pocket. I like the versatility of that. Optics wise, tripod I'm running. So this is a Really Right Stuff, I want to say TCF13 or TFC13, one of those. It has no center column, which is annoying from a glassing perspective, and that when I'm going to be sitting down and glassing, if I'm going from like looking downhill to looking across to looking up, I don't really have a way to quickly adjust that. I have to do that with the legs. The benefit though is to be able to shoot off this platform. There's no center column, so all that, the tolerances where you could create movement go away, and it's incredibly stable to shoot from. We're going to do some videos out there in the field, just kind of mocking up shooting situations, walk you through like why I absolutely love this setup. The head on this is the Ridge Warden from Wiser Precision. It's a 3.5 ounce ball head that I don't know how Shane did it. It's incredibly smooth to glass with, whether a spine scope or binoculars, and I can also shoot off of it really, really well. When I went on a deer hunt, it was a rifle deer hunt earlier this year, it was the first time taking the setup out. Shot a bunch of times at rocks, kind of when I was out of the unit. I was hunting a boundary and just was, from 400 to 600 yards in all sorts of positions, sitting on my butt. I was able to shoot uphill, downhill, cross canyon, and make some really good shots. It's quite an amazing setup. And so with the head, the legs, and then I swapped out the rubber ball feet. I bought some barstool legs or barstool feet on Amazon, and this setup dropped quite a few. The screw and rubber legs on these are really heavy. I think I dropped like 3 ounces just by going to these. So I'm at 2 pounds 4 ounces for this setup, which is pretty freaking remarkable for what it does. Spotting scope, taking the Kowa 55. I may regret this decision if we see a moose at a long distance away. One of the peaks I want to get to is like 5 miles, 360, depending on, like, you walk 50 yards and you can just see a lot of country. I may regret this because we may see a moose at the max distance glassing range of this. So it's at 5 miles and it's like, I can't tell if that's a shooter bull or not. I am not a trophy hunter. I just shot basically like a 6-month-old bull elk last week, and I'm stoked about having that meat. But on these once-in-a-lifetime tags, I definitely want to shoot a nice mature bull moose. and be able to hang something up on the wall and have that kind of memory for a long time. So trophy is going to play an important role in this. I want to shoot something like 44 inches plus, and being able to identify that from a long distance. I said I may regret this. One thing that's really nice is running the phone scope on here. I can run my 5x optical lens and put this on 40x. So I'm essentially a 200x magnification and really zoom in pretty dang good. It might be a little blurry and fuzzy, but you're going to get an idea of kind of the rough size of it. So we'll see how that goes. I am also packing some NL Pure 14 by 52s. Basically, the goal is like 90% of the time we're sitting down glassing. This is going to be on the tripod. This is how I'm going to spot the moose. And then once I spot it, then I'll get the spotting scope on it, try to get a closer look at it. Obviously, NL Pures are the best binoculars you can possibly buy. They come in all sorts of sizes. Just running these 14s for just that little bit more magnification, because potential to like be glassing really long distances. Normally, the last probably handful of years, I've ran EL range, Swarovski EL range binoculars. So they're the binocular with the rangefinder built into it and your ballistics built into it. Because I wanted to stress like the best glass I possibly could with the Pures. And now I have to go get a handheld rangefinder. So that is this Revic rangefinder. Got my ballistics built into it. It's pulling all the conditions while I'm out there hunting. So I've got atmosphere and temperature, angle, all that. It does everything. I just range. It's going to tell me what to dial on my rifle. So all I got to do is click, dial 4, shoot, kill the animal. Extra things here, I've got my phone scope mount. So this is the mount that goes to the phone, and then 2 different adapters, one for the binoculars, one for the spotting scope, so I can get that. But this is FHF Gear binocular harness, and I am running the SIG Zulus in the 12 by 42s on here. I have like a love-hate relationship with these things. Like, they are freaking incredible when you're moving and you're hiking. You can be breathing hard. You can be climbing up a mountain. If you see something, you can get out and check it really quick. Like, you could be breathing hard and really cover country well if you need to. If you see some movement or something just looks good, like, oh, that looks like where a deer would be bedded, you can pull it up, and you're gonna see it with these. Where with regular binoculars, the amount of like breathing and shaking that's gonna go on is hard. You probably have to stop, take your pack off, sit down, put your elbows on your knees. This just saves you a bunch of time, and they're freaking awesome to have. I just wish the glass was a little bit better. It's not going to be as good, not near as good as like Swarovski's in super low light. Resolution isn't as good. So very excited for the future as this continues to develop and the optics continue to get better in here. One thing I did do is I swapped out, I actually had this happen to me. The batteries in these last forever until they don't. And I think I went like 2 or 3 years with this set without replacing the battery, but it ran out on me on my deer hunt. I did get home and ordered these Coast Zithion batteries, and if you can see right here, it has a USB-C plug right into the battery. So I can literally put this into my battery bank and recharge it out in the field. I don't have to worry about packing an extra battery. I'm just good to go. Kind of a handy little thing. So just, it's like one of those, it's like the cable being built into the battery bank. I don't ever have to worry about packing a spare or like missing that. It's just if the battery dies, I know I've got a battery bank, charge it back up, I'm good to go. And last but not least, I've got my gun. So this is the same 6 Creedmoor that I took to Alaska last with me on the Experience Project hunts, shooting the 108 grain ELDM bullet, Night Force NXS 2.5 to 10 scope. I do have a chart, I have a screenshot on my phone that basically converts MOA into 44 inches at different distances. So when we're looking at moose, if we see something at 500 yards, I can actually get in the gun, get it in my horizontal reticle in there that's got MOA on it, and find out exactly the width of that animal. Because I have that in my head. They don't want to shoot a 44-inch bull. We'll see what happens. But I can measure that through the scope, which is pretty handy to have. Obviously, MDT folding chassis. This thing's awesome. I can strap it right to the side of my pack. It basically sits flush with the top of my head. Not expecting a lot of brush on this hunt, but the Alaska hunts and stuff like that, that folding chassis is fantastic to have. I did put a new change is this airlock suppressor. This is a local company out of Horseshoe Bend, Idaho, came out with this. Super light, I believe it's like 5.5 ounce suppressor. Substantially quieter than the Thunder Beast 5-inch that I had in the past. Recoil is less. It's just all around, like, it's lighter, reminds me of the K4x pack. Like it's lighter and better, and not often do those two things go hand in hand, right? So excited to test that out. Obviously the gun's proven. I know I'm gonna have no issues at all. As long as I do my part, put the bullet in the vitals of the animal, that moose is gonna die quickly. So that was a long rundown. Justin's pointing to my sleeping bag. The thing on the ground, we didn't have room on the table. So Katabatic Alsec 22-degree quilt. This is, obviously we're expecting temps around 30, so it's got plenty of warmth here. No issues at all. These quilts are incredibly comfortable, lightweight. This is sub 20 ounces, just really high quality quilts. It snaps into the pad. You've got pad straps that go around your sleeping pad. We're gonna do a video of that while we're out there in the field too, just how my sleep setup is with basically my mattress, my bivy sack, my shelter, my pillow, the quilt, how that all connects, how I use it. Pretty simple but effective method. So that's an overview of the gear. We're gonna do a quick, hopefully quick dive on our clothing setup and then hit the road, and we're excited to get out here and start hunting.